Our MC Mujin fights the squad leader, Chiolboin, and he's playing with him like a kid, even dodging an attack in midair. This pisses Chiolboin off, and he demands that our MC fight him like a man. Mujin then drops down, picks up his 100-kilo sword like it's nothing. As they both lunge at each other, Mujin quickly pulls his sword back and strikes Chiolboin's blade so hard that it knocks his sword back. Taking this chance, he punches Chiolboin in the face so hard he almost flattens his nose and sends him crashing to the ground. The others are shocked because he was never this strong before. To understand why our MC can do this to a squad leader, let's go back to the beginning. Our MC, known as the Divine Demon, is a powerful swordsman who finds himself going up against 9 powerful sect leaders in a quest for vengeance. His amazing and terrifying sword skills allow him to match up to the sect leaders. He cuts them down with so much precision that they are all confused as to how he is doing it. Before they know it, they find themselves getting cut off one by one, leaving them to conclude that our MC is nothing but a monster. Even when those who were still standing managed to pin him down and push a sword through his heart, he pulled through and sent them all to the afterlife, ultimately stamping his name as the Divine Demon. Just when he is about to die, his life flashes before his very eyes, and he feels the sense of relief of having fulfilled his mission. Our MC remembers when he was getting jumped by 3 kids, since he was a troublemaker in the Murim. He was ultimately saved by his master, who trained him. But in the end, he lived by the sword, killing people left and right. He wonders if life is all about what he did, and in that moment, he remembers his late wife. The best moments of his life were the ones he spent with his wife, but they were later taken away from him. In tears, he wonders what the meaning of his life really is, and in the end, he closes his eyes in death. Suddenly he hears ranting all around him, and he assumes that he is in hell until he opens his eyes to see some annoying group standing in front of him and trash-talking him. Our MC is totally confused as he doesn't understand a thing about what is happening. Standing beside him are 2 kids, and the male child is defending his elder brother, saying they can't hand over the clan's martial arts when his brother is still alive. He mentions that no matter what happens, the martial arts must remain in their clan, the Manhwa clan. While our MC is still questioning what is happening, the opposition leader suggests that they make a deal to remove all of their worries. He calls our MC, Hua Mujin, and tells him that he is ready to offer money since his clan is utterly poor. In return, Mujin will wager his clan's martial arts, but they are going to duel for it. The winner of the duel then takes everything. The little boy is shocked when he hears this, since his elder brother, our MC, is totally useless when it comes to martial arts. Our MC is tired of all the noise, and he is forced to ask the group who the hell is Mujin when he knows that he is entirely someone else. His so-called younger ones are left confused when he says this, and they stare at him like some kind of madman. Even his rival is forced to ask him what he said, and he reveals that he is known as the Divine Demon, but this only cracks him up, and he suggests that Mujin call him the King of the Underworld instead. Apparently, his annoying rival is Cheong Dobo, and he is the second son of the Cheonghua merchant group. Mujin's siblings are pissed that his madness is already getting out of hand, which is why he is saying trash. Even the master of the Cheonghua merchant group, Buchoyon, makes fun of the clan, saying their clan is already done for, since the eldest son is in a bad mental state. Mujin remains silent as he tries to understand what is really happening. Since he is not saying anything, Dobo assumes that he has accepted the duel, and he informs him that the duel will be held at the Byung Pavilion next month. Dobo reminds Mujin that they made the deal under the martial arts code, and he is not allowed to break it because there will be consequences for it. After the group is gone, Mujin's supposed siblings turn to him, asking him what he plans to do since they have forced a duel on him. What makes it worse is that Mujin has not even swung a sword before. Mujin laughs out loud when he hears this, since he knows that swordsmanship is everything that he lives and breathes. He tries to aura farm by accessing his inner energy, but he suddenly realizes that it is gone, like totally gone with no ounce of it left. Frustration sets in when he also realizes that his body is very frail and weak. His sister bursts into tears, begging Mujin to come to his freaking senses. The little girl tells Mujin that he is trash, and he also calls him a fool for getting walked on by the merchant group. Her brother scolds her for trash-talking their brother and suggests that she apologize, but she refuses. She blames Mujin for their parents' deaths, and she runs off in tears after saying this. The little boy apologizes on his sister's behalf, saying she sometimes loses herself in anger, and after saying this, he also leaves. Mujin is utterly confused because he can't believe that even children now hate his guts and they call him a madman. Mujin is confused, and he knows that the last thing he remembers is cutting through the sect leaders without mercy. Mujin believes that he should have died peacefully, but he has suddenly found himself in a strange body. He crashes to the ground in frustration, wondering who the kids are. Just then, a weird dude, who happens to be his assistant, comes running over to him, asking him why he went outside with his frail body. He claims that he has been worried about him, but Mujin simply asks him who he is because he obviously doesn't know him. The dude, Masok, is surprised to hear this, and he assumes that Mujin is suffering from another seizure due to the madness affecting him. Since he believes that Mujin is truly suffering from amnesia, he decides to tell him his backstory. Apparently, Hua Mujin was once a talented and reputable kid whom several Orthodox sects wanted as their disciple, and by age 23, he had become the clan's leader. Sok is tired of telling Mujin the story because he has repeated it over 6,000 times. Mujin doesn't think he was a promising kid because his energy core is obviously shit. In addition, he wants to know about the madness that everyone is talking about. Sok then decides to tell him about this too. 17 years ago, Mujin and Dobo had an unofficial duel, where they promised no inner energy. Mujin was 6 years old and Dobo was 9 years old at the time of the duel. Dobo agreed to this, and the fight between the two kids started. But as the fight progressed, Dobo broke their deal and struck Mujin with a punch imbued with inner energy. Mujin is disappointed at this, and he asks Dobo why he used the 7-wound fist techniques when they clearly promised not to do anything outside of throwing fists. Dobo makes fun of Mujin, telling him that the technique was passed down through the Kongdong sect and apparently the after effects are no joke. Apparently, Dobo had tested it out on his older brother who was acting all cocky and the technique left him bedridden. Since he was glad about how it turned out, Dobo was excited to see how it would turn out against Mujin. Basically, Mujin is now called a madman because they believe his condition is a result of the after effect of the 7-wound fist strike. Mujin is pissed that Dobo was the one who made him useless, but he is suddenly requesting a duel. Mujin then asks Sok how they handled Dobo after he rendered him useless. Sok then mentions that Mujin's father was the one who later gave the final verdict. Although Dobo was his cousin, he was also the son of the Cheonghua merchant group, considered to be one of the top 10 within the Central Plains. Even though Dobo did something terrible, Mujin's father only let him off with a warning. Mujin cannot believe just how useless the man is to have forgiven someone who rendered his son useless. Mujin concludes that the clan is total trash, and then he asks Sok where his parents are. Sok mentions that Mujin's condition progressively got worse, which led his father into debt because he was looking for ways to cure his illness. 9 years ago, his mother's sickness actually got really worse, and she passed away from it. 3 years later, his father joined his mother in the afterlife. Mujin basically became the son who killed his parents and ruined the clan. Because of this, the clan's reputation actually got trashed, and his siblings found themselves in a tight spot. All that is left of the family are debts and 2 loyal retainers and just a few martial artists. He also has his younger brother, Hua Dojin, and his sister, Hua Soyeon. Mujin finally realizes why his sister, Soyeon, said he is to blame for what happened to their parents. That night, Mujin went through the history books left behind by the original owner of the body, and he learned a few things from them. He realized that 30 years had passed since he defeated the 9 sects, and he now inhabits the body of a madman with no energy core. Since our MC carries no regret from his past life, he decides to live according to the Mujin and help out the helpless kids. However, he knows that the Cheonghua merchant group is going to be a big problem for him. They were basically the ones who rendered the body useless and also destroyed the clan. The first thing on his list is to plan for the duel he has against Dobo, which is the following month. Since the body is trash, he figures out that he has to rebuild his body from the beginning. He sits down to meditate and starts everything all over again like a beginner. He remembers that back in his old life, the first time he wanted to try cultivation, it was hard for him. However, things seem to be going smoothly with the current body thanks to the body's overwhelming innate martial aptitude. Mujin taps into the body's insane energy and tries to explore it to the max, leaving a golden light shining across his room. Momentarily, Sok and the retainers hear his scream and struggle from where they are, causing them to rush into his room. They find him on the floor, and one of the retainers jokingly says he is dead. He checks Mujin's pulse and realizes that it is stronger than before, but Mujin suddenly grabs him, asking him why his body is suffering from immeasurable pain just because he tried to form an energy core. The retainer is confused by this, and Mujin repeats himself, saying he wants to know if his body has some special constitution. The retainer then reveals his constitution is the heavenly martial body. Apparently, it is a rare heroic constitution, which is chosen by the heavens. Mujin gets hit with another wave of pain, and he finally figures out that the body's constitution is exactly the opposite of the demonic arts. Basically, a body of pure, upright energy will suffer intense pain when it tries to practice demonic arts. Mujin screams in pain, wondering why he got a body cursed with a very different constitution out of all the constitutions available. He concludes that things are really bad for him because the duel is just in a month. As he lies down in pain, he asks Sok who the 2 men are. Sok reveals that the man in green is the chief steward, Du Baekshun, and the man in red is an elder, Zhou Huanbong. The moment he hears the name Joe, he remembers something from his past life, but the pain he is feeling is too much, and he ends up passing out. 3 days later, Mujin finally gets up from where he has been lying down, but Sok is worried that he is not taking enough rest. Mujin mentions that he is tired of lying down since he has a duel coming up, and he urges Sok to get him swords. Sok manages to keep himself from laughing when he hears this because the clan is still trying to get what to eat, and Mujin is asking for swords. Mujin is forced to ask if there is no money in the family, and Sok mentions that they are currently taking out loans from an unorthodox sect named the Bangho sect. Because the sect operates on a very high interest rate, they have found themselves in a whole lot of debt. It finally dawns on Mujin that to help the clan, he needs to resolve the money issue first. Nonetheless, Mujin doesn't think taking out more loans is going to hurt, since they are already drowning in debt. Sok is worried about this, but Mujin tells him to shut his mouth and write a letter to the two elders because he is going out on a walk. When the elders heard of this, they got worried about the fact that Mujin had made his way to the dangerous Bangho sect. Momentarily, Mujin and Sok arrive at the entrance of the Bangho sect. Mujin tells the big bodyguard to inform his boss that he would like to see him. The dude, Kang Noho, is not out to play games, and he tells Mujin to get himself into the building if he is there to gamble. Mujin insists that Kang take him to his boss, but this starts to piss Kang off. Sok quickly cuts in, urging Kang to calm down because Mujin is not right in the head. The tension between the two continues to rise until the vice master, Ma Jungbo of the sect, shows up, demanding to know what the issue is. Kang then tells his boss that Mujin is trying to meet their top boss. Ma asks him why he would like to meet their boss, and Mujin says he would want more loans. Ma then tells Mujin that he doesn't need to see the leader to get a loan, and he invites him into the building. Mujin and Sok soon find themselves going deeper into the manor using a wooden bridge, while they are being escorted by armed swordsmen. Sok is worried about the whole thing, and he tells Mujin that they still have the chance to go back before it is too late. Mujin disagrees with him, saying they have made it a long way already. Sok then tells him that there was a particular granny who saw the leader of the sect fighting, and it turns out that the leader is quite powerful because he overwhelmed his opponent in seconds. Apparently, the leader is a martial artist who has learned a powerful killing technique. Mujin is questioning Sok's reason for telling him this when Ma cuts in, saying Sok is more knowledgeable because he caught on pretty quickly. However, it is already too late for them because they have reached a deeper part of the cave, and before the two know it, they find themselves surrounded by armed swordsmen. Mujin is disappointed, and he asks Ma if this was his plan from the onset. Ma confirms this and says he intentionally led him in because he obviously cannot touch him in public. However, he's not ready to give him a free hand the same way he gave his parents. Sok is not arguing with the group, but he begs them to let his master live. Mujin, on the other hand, is pissed when Ma mentions his parents because he obviously has no parents until it suddenly dawns on him that he is now in another body. Since everything is ready, Ma orders his men to teach Mujin a lesson. One of them, who is very eager to carry out the order, goes after Mujin and throws a punch at him. Sok almost faints in fear when he sees the punch coming straight toward them. Surprisingly, Mujin blocks the dude's punch, ultimately shattering his bones from the inside. The dude screams in pain and crashes to the ground while claiming that Mujin used some sort of cheap tricks on him. Mujin teases him, saying he actually has soft bones compared to his size. Mujin figures out that he has to do things without the use of his pure power. Ma is pissed that his men are wasting time, and he orders them to finish Mujin off. One of the swordsmen charges straight at him with his sword, but Mujin easily dodges the strike and figures out that he has to keep moving since he can't match the dude's power. Using his flexible body, he is able to dodge and deliver a headbutt that crushes the dude's face. The dude falls back, screaming in pain, while his colleague takes over from him and tries to slash Mujin, but Mujin dodges the strike. The attacker tries another strike, but Mujin jumps backward before delivering a kick to knock the dude out of commission. Before the armed men know what is happening, they find themselves getting toyed with, and in no time, they crash to the ground on their knees. Standing in the distance, Sok cries out to make sure that his master is safe, but Mujin calls him a dull head while mentioning that he is fine. Sok is utterly blown away, forcing him to ask Mujin where he learned the martial arts skills that he is using. Mujin then tells the dude that what he is witnessing is not martial arts but something he picked up on the streets. Sok is shocked to hear this since he doesn't remember Mujin spending time on the streets. Ma commends him for successfully dispatching his men, but immediately launches his coin at Mujin with a powerful force behind it. The coin narrowly misses Mujin's head, but he can feel the pressure from the coin, shocking him. Ma then angrily tells his men to leave because he will take care of Mujin himself. Mujin is surprised that he is facing so much hostility when all he wants to do is talk to their boss. Ma angrily replies that his boss is not someone that a trash fellow like Mujin can meet. Ma angrily whips out his sword and lunges toward Mujin, ready to take him down. In a surprising turn of events, Mujin blocks his power strike with a pair of chopsticks. Ma is shocked when he sees this, But little does he know that this is all Mujin could get, since he has no money for a sword. Mujin and Ma continue to exchange blows, but Mujin stands his ground with some excellent martial arts. Before Ma knows it, he finds his hand impaled with one of the chopsticks. Ma cannot believe that Mujin was able to find an opening even though he was trying his best to cut him down. While Ma is struggling, Mujin is busy having fun, while telling Ma that he might just regret himself if he decides to underrate chopsticks. Before Ma knows it, he finds himself struggling against chopsticks, leaving him surprised because he believed that Mujin was just a weakling who could not use chi. Ma is left to wonder how Mujin is able to reach such a terrifying state in a short space of time, but he doesn't want to believe that Mujin is the same person that he knows. Mujin continues puncturing his body with the chopsticks while telling him that he has such terrible skills. Ma refuses to lose to a pair of chopsticks, and he leaps into the air while aiming to finish Mujin off with his ultimate move. With how threatening he looks in the air, Mujin doesn't look scared one bit. He easily dodges Ma's attack, leaving him completely open. Ma is left to question why Mujin will have such a hidden power without him knowing. Mujin delivers a powerful punch to his body that fully destroys whatever pride he has left. With fear now reeking through Ma's body, Mujin repeats himself, saying all he wants is alone, but this time, he says it with a very deadly and terrifying face. Momentarily, Ma finally decides to sit down with Mujin after getting a thorough beating. His guards also find themselves bowing to Mujin while Ma talks with him. Ma then asks Mujin to tell him what he wants to know. Mujin asks Ma why his sect is lending a loan to his family without collateral, because he can sense malicious intent with the entire deal. Ma claims that they have no malicious intent, and Mujin is just overthinking things. Mujin doesn't believe this one bit because he can sense Ma's fear from where he is sitting. Mujin then decides to ask him again, but this time he urges him to think carefully if he doesn't want to be punished. Realizing that Mujin is not playing around, Ma finally reveals that they got their orders from the Cheonghua merchant group. Mujin is not surprised to hear this because he knows that the group was involved in some way. He then asks Ma what sort of deal it is that they made with the Cheonghua group. Ma is hesitant to speak, but Mujin quickly lets him know that if he dies defending the merchant group, he won't be missed. Ma takes some wisdom from what Mujin said and reveals that the merchant group ordered them to lend Mujin's clan whatever amount of money they want, but at a crazy high interest. In exchange for making the Hua clan fall, the Bangho sect will get the Hua lands after they are kicked off the chessboard. It finally dawns on Mujin that the family land was the collateral all along. Mujin then asks Ma how much 300 gold coins that he wants to borrow will amount to in a year. According to the contract, Ma reveals that the 300 gold coins would have amounted to 5,000 gold coins in repayment. Mujin is disgusted by this, but he really doesn't care, and he accepts the deal. With a more serious face, he asks Ma who helps them in cleaning up their messes. Ma then mentions that one of them is the social sect of the Four Martial Heavens, an alliance of unorthodox sects. Mujin is surprised to hear this, and Sok mentions that it is a new alliance. Mujin is irritated by the Four Martial Heavens, and he even calls the B word. Sok believes that his master's madness is playing because he has never seen him meet the alliance in the past, but he is literally cursing them out. Mujin then tells Sok that he doesn't have to worry about it because he is not in the mood to explain. Mujin is already getting tired of waiting, forcing him to ask about the dude who went to bring the money. The dude soon arrives with a box filled with the 300 gold coins that he needs. Mujin's eyes light up in happiness when he sees this, and he assumes that it should be enough. He tells Sok that it is time for them to leave, but Sok is still skeptical about the whole borrowing of a thing. Mujin simply tells him to shut his trap hole and take the money so that they can leave. Ma and his guards escort Mujin to the entrance when he is about to leave. Mujin then tells him to write down the date in his ledger, and he promises to clear all of the clan's debts once he has finished his business with the Cheonghua merchant group. In addition, Mujin warns Ma about taking money from the common folks, and failure to adhere to this will lead to serious punishment. Ma acknowledges the order, but deep down, he is pissed, and he cannot wait to see Mujin get screwed over. Momentarily, Sok and Mujin arrive at the house, and they are welcomed by the two elders. They immediately become worried when they see blood on Mujin's clothes, but he assures them that it is not his own. They ask him what happened at the sect, and he tells them that he simply went to borrow money. Mujin claims that the clan is in need of money because they need to feed their warriors to prevent the little they have left from running off. The elders don't want to believe that it was the sect that borrowed Mujin the money, and they assumed that he stole it. Mujin tells the elders that the sect has everything documented in their ledger, according to what he told them. Mujin then tells the elder that all he needs from them is to take care of his siblings and make sure that they are well fed and clothed. After handing out his instructions, he simply wishes them luck before walking away. Mujin then visits his parents' memorial room, but since he didn't have parents in his past life, he has no idea what to say. He finally opens his mouth to tell them that the money issue has been solved, and he also promises to take care of his siblings and servants, and by this, he urges his parents to rest in the afterlife. He also assures them that he is going to beat the brakes off of Dobo for challenging him to a duel. Unknown to him, he is being watched by Soyeon and Dojin, and the kids look absolutely impressed. Later on, Mujin ordered 3 swords that weigh 50 kilograms, 80 kilograms, and 110 kilograms respectively. The servants who brought in the swords almost broke their backs while doing so, but Mujin is just glad that his swords finally arrived. Sok is forced to ask him what he plans to do with such heavy-ass swords, and Mujin smiles, saying he plans to do what everyone else does with a sword, which is obviously swing it. Mujin excitedly reaches for the 50-kilogram sword and plans to start with it. However, his smile soon fades when he realizes that the sword is too heavy for him to lift. He concludes that the body is nothing but trash. However, he is not ready to give up. Nonetheless, he realizes that he can lift it a bit if he uses his 2 hands. Mujin can see Sok staring at him in disgust, and he urges him to get down to preparing his meal. He reminds him to add loads of meat to his food, and Sok dejectedly walks away in worry. Mujin sits with the sword, with the push that he has just 2 weeks to train his heart out before the duel. His body's constitution, which is the heavenly martial body, is the total opposite of the demonic arts that his master taught him. He figures out that the only solution he has is to learn the martial art of his master's friend, the peerless 9 swords. Refusing to give up, he starts swinging the sword by force inside the house. Meanwhile, Dobo has gotten the information that Mujin dealt with the Bangho boys so harshly that they will not be able to move for 2 weeks. Dobo is surprised to hear this since Mujin lacks an energy core to have pulled it off. Dobo smiles evilly while thinking of preparing something sinister ahead of the fight. Dobo is also excited to see what Mujin has hidden inside him when they finally go against each other in the duel. Momentarily, Mujin begins training his body in the hardest way possible. He figures out that he should be able to push the body to its limits since it's a body blessed by the heavens. While training, Sok is always preparing whatever it is that he needs. He believes that with the preparations, he will finally get the chance to start his training fully. He picks up the 50-kilo sword and starts swinging it around, while remembering what his old master told him. After trying out the first form, Mujin wastes no time graduating to the second form. He remembers what his master told him that no matter what weapon he faces, he is going to come out victorious. As the training progresses, he realizes that he is already getting overwhelmed, but he figures out that he has to endure it. In no time, he finds himself wielding the sword comfortably, and even leaping around the room as if the sword were not heavy. Momentarily, he moves over to the third form, while also trying his best to control his chi to become as powerful as it can. To help him with his training, he has a bunch of training items already prepared to simulate what a real battle will look like. His first opponent was a hardball, which he managed to dodge for some time before getting hit from behind. After this, he faces off against spiked bamboos, and by using the fourth form of the sword, he cuts down the bamboos. Apparently, his sword skill might look simple, but it is quite dangerous as it can cut through a whole load of things. Even with how much he tried, he was not able to hit logs flying at him with his fourth form, forcing him to graduate to the fifth form. This time he slices them all with his powerful fifth form. With his sword's power, he is confident that nothing can stop him, and numbers are nothing. After moving past the logs, he faces off against candles placed in bamboo, and for this, he employs his sixth form. He swung his sword so hard that it blew out all of the candles at once. Once he overcomes this, he figures out that his next stop is outside the house, where he can use his seventh form. Using his powerful seventh form, he scales through yet again. In no time, he reaches the ninth form with the determination that there is nothing his sword cannot cut through. He finally reaches the peak stage for the sword, and Mujin crashes to the ground in relief. But at the same time, he is not entirely pissed because he can't replicate his final form from his old life. He remembers taking teachings from his teacher when he was younger, but at the start, he never really took his master's teaching seriously. He believes that his master's friend was just taking a piss, while saying the trash and impossible feats about cutting down everything with a sword. His master admits that it might sound crazy, but he is not willing to allow his friend's martial arts to die. Since he was not able to properly inherit it, he wants Mujin to do so on his behalf. His master let him know that his late friend was the only swordsman who could go head-to-head with his skills. To make it more interesting, he had no chi, but Mujin's master says there is the possibility that he was using movement arts. Because those in his sect couldn't properly learn it, he decided to teach Mujin's master in an attempt to pass it on to someone worthy of it. After hearing this, Mujin laughs out loud to mock the arts, but his master flicks him on the head so hard that it almost crushes his skull. He tells Mujin that he has to follow whatever instruction he gives him, and Mujin has no choice but to accept his master's wishes. His master told him that if he performed the sword art 1,000 times, his body would change. But if he performed it 100,000 times, his chi would begin to enter his sword. Basically, swinging it 1,000,000 times will make him invincible to even the most powerful swordsman. Mujin was blown away by this because it is going to take him 3 years to finish the cycle if he swings his sword 1,000 times a day. This leaves Mujin asking his master if his friend truly matched his skill, but he says he has no idea, but he is pretty sure that one of them would have died if they had gone all out. Because of this, Mujin became curious about what kind of man his master's friend was. Mujin finally wakes up from different resounding slaps from Sok. Mujin figures out that he has a long way to go because he fainted just after practicing the move once, and he is nowhere near 1,000. Nonetheless, he has to eat because it is already late, and when he looks at the plate of food in front of him, he realizes that it is pork. He is disappointed, and he tells Sok to get pork the next time, since it is the easiest to help bulk up. He lets Sok know that he is free to use the money that they borrowed from the Bangho sect because he can easily borrow more later. He tells Sok that his plan is to keep eating beef for the rest of the duration that he fights Dobo. Sok then asks Mujin when he learned the martial arts that he learned because he is pretty sure that Mujin didn't know martial arts before. Since Mujin has told his siblings already, he figures out that telling Sok is also not a bad idea. Mujin then reveals that he is not the real Mujin because his real identity is the divine demon. Sok assumes that Mujin is joking around and spewing some fantasy nonsense. Sok says he is only worried that Mujin is going to lose his memories and just disappear one day, but Mujin grabs him, assuring him that he is not going to leave the clan until it becomes the greatest clan in all of Sichuan. After all, Mujin has no choice since he has nothing else to do. Sok taunts his master, saying he is spewing trash, but this earns him a painful finger flick to the head. Once they are done talking, Mujin tells Sok that he is free to leave, and Sok does as told. Meanwhile, the two clan elders are trying to run away with the kids before the duel, since they believe that Dobo is going to kill Mujin, ultimately making the clan ripe for the taking. Shortly afterward, Mujin has trained his heart out so that he is now able to carry the 70-kilo sword with just one arm. However, his technique remains unstable, and he only has a week to the duel. He is sweating in the training room when the kids enter to check on him. Mujin urges them to leave because it is dangerous for them to be there. The kids tell Mujin that they are only worried about him because they have been watching him push himself to the limit for the past few days. Soyeon is worried that Mujin is doing all of these because of what she said, but she lets him know that she never meant it, because she was just angry. Staring at the two kids reminds our MC of his lover's siblings from his past life. Mujin pats them on the head, telling them that they have nothing to worry about. The two kids start to mimic Mujin, while commending how great his posture was. The way the two are arguing with each other on who is wrong or right makes him remember when he trained with his master and had it tough. Suddenly, it dawns on him that the most important thing with the Peerless Nine sword is the breathing technique. Realizing this, Mujin tells the kids that he is going to win no matter what, and he urges them to go back to their room. The kids are worried, but they assume that things are going to be fine. Once he is alone, Mujin begins the breathing technique while swinging his sword hard. With the help of the breathing technique, he is able to use up his collected internal energy all at once. Before he knows it, he already grasps the idea of the movement arts, which is a chi art where one builds up internal energy through movement. Basically, movement arts are considered low-rate martial arts, which is why people don't think much about them. Using the breathing technique, Mujin is able to swing the sword much easily, giving him what it takes to cut down a statue. Meanwhile, Jo Hwanbong is seen talking to Sok about Mujin's sudden change. Sok tries to attribute Mujin's sudden healthiness to the one wudang session that he went through, but Jo is not a fool. He tells Sok to make sure he reports whatever changes he comes across to him. Sok makes his way to where his master is training, only to find it upside down. He tries telling him that his food is ready, but Mujin is disappointed, saying the training room is too small for him to train in. Because of this, Mujin says he will start using the training hall. Mujin makes his way to the big training hall only to find other warriors training there, and they all have their eyes on him. Sok tells the other warriors that he will have to train alone and suggests that they all move out of there. He urges them to use the other training hall, but the warriors are left wondering why a half-dead dude is spewing out instructions to them. They believe that Mujin is not a freaking martial artist just because he has a sword. Mujin notices the differences in their mood, and he comments on this. The other warriors want to stand up against Mujin, but the squad leader, Cheol Boyne, tells his men to leave the hall for the young master. Cheol ultimately believes that Mujin has lost his mind yet again. Just then, Mujin stops Cheol, letting him know that he should be a man and talk to him directly. Cheol then turns back, and Mujin suggests that they fight, since they are swordsmen. Cheol says he would not do this because Mujin is the future leader of the clan. Mujin then tells Cheol to remain a coward and not show his face, since he knows that he can't back his word. This is enough to get Cheol to unsheath his sword, ready to take on Mujin. The fight begins, and Mujin immediately pushes his sword into the ground before leaping toward Cheol in a daring move. He gets to Cheol and pushes his head before he can even react. The warriors are genuinely confused because they have never seen a duel without a sword before. Mujin continues toying with Cheol by moving around pretty fast, while Cheol struggles really hard. Cheol soon gets frustrated, and he tells Mujin to fight him like a man and stop evading his attacks. Mujin finally agrees to take him seriously a bit by grabbing his sword, but Cheol wastes no time running his mouth, saying Mujin is to blame for everything that has happened to the clan. Since Mujin is the cause of the problems, Cheol doesn't think he deserves to learn martial arts. Cheol dashes toward Mujin, but he meets him halfway with the 9th form of his peerless sword technique, ultimately shaking up his internal energy. Mujin doesn't give Cheol any breathing space as he lands a devastating punch to his face. Cheol is sent to the floor with blood spilling everywhere, while Mujin lets him know that things are about to be different. As he crashes to the ground, Cheol finally realizes the bitter truth that Mujin has fully changed. He can sense the determination burning right out of Mujin's body, unlike before. Cheol hits the ground, ultimately shocking Sok and the other warriors watching the duel. The warriors run over to check on their boss, who is lying down, totally knocked out. Mujin stands like a proper winner, while asking Cheol if he has any problems concerning his victory. One of the warriors screams at Mujin, telling him that he used a cowardly move. Cheol pulls himself together and screams at the dude to shut his mouth before admitting that he actually lost. Cheol pays his respect to Mujin while telling him that he has actually learned from him. Mujin acknowledges his respect and tells him that he is free to leave. As the warriors are stepping out of the hall, Mujin tells Sok to join them, since he truly wants to be alone. The aggrieved warrior continues complaining, and he believes that Cheol went easy on Mujin, but he lets him know that he didn't because he was planning to leave him half dead. The dude doesn't want to believe this, but Cheol lets him know that he is dead serious. Cheol says he doesn't know the full story, but it is evident that their young master has exponentially improved. Sok, on the other hand, is also wondering when Mujin changed so much, but at the same time, he is thankful that he actually changed. That night, the two elders have a meeting concerning the upcoming duel. The two have been in the clan for over 36 years and have been loyal ever since then. They talk about how amazing the Flame Emperor was during his younger days. He was a competent young man who showed off martial arts in such a way that even the powerful Tang clan had to admit that he was one of a kind. Basically, the elders were mesmerized by his strength, and they both swore allegiance to him. Joe believes that they are trying to break the loyalty, but Do disagrees, saying they just need to resolve the bloodline problem. Do says they have been looking after Mujin for 17 years, but the clan has been in decline ever since then. The two believe that they have done enough, and there is no way the Flame Emperor is going to blame them once they reach the afterlife. Basically, they have gathered the money they need to relocate, and in addition to this, a few martial artists to help them out. Du then tells Joe that he should leave first, while he stays behind to look after Mujin some more. Apparently, the martial master of the Kongdong sect hired by the Chionghua will be the witness for the duel. Joe is surprised to hear this, since it is all pointing toward cheating. The merchant group is basically an evil bunch of craps who will make sure that there is nothing left of the Hua clan. Du tells Joe to take the kids and wait for him at their promised location, even though it will be a huge shock to the kids. Later on, Mujin realizes that the amount of beef he is getting smaller, leaving him to ask Sok why this is. Sok then reveals that the steward is giving him little money, and even though Mujin is pissed about the whole thing, he leaves it aside to show Mujin his cool outfit. Sok crushes his beautiful imagination by telling him that he looks better when he was all bandaged up. When it is time to leave for the duel, Mujin runs into Do outside the house. Mujin initially thinks he is there to stop him, but he says no, revealing that he is actually there to follow him to the duel. Mujin figures out that Do is just worrying himself when all he plans to do is beat his rival to a pulp. With this, Sok and Do join Mujin on the way to the duel venue. At the arena, everywhere is bustling with a crowd who want to see the duel and those who are there to make bets. Because of the high odds placed on Mujin, most put their money on him. Momentarily, he arrives at the arena with lollipops in his mouth, and those who saw him believe he is a weakling and would even prefer to cancel their bets. When he steps into the arena, he meets Choyeon, who asks him if he really wants to go ahead with the duel. The spectators, hearing this, believe that Mujin was the one who requested the duel first despite his weakness, and they believe that his madness is running riot. Mujin is utterly pissed when he realizes that the group is already painting them as the bad guys, and he plans to punish them for this. Mujin confidently tells Choyeon that he is not going to sit around and let her steal the secret manual of his clan, which is precisely why he has to fight them. The spectators are shocked to hear this because they never expected a merchant group to go after a martial arts secret technique. Choyeon is totally confident about the way things are going, and she believes that Mujin will pay for trying to act cool. The fire is set and all preparations are ready for the duel. The host announces that the duel's witness will be Han Yigong of the Kongdong sect. Han is seen standing on the balcony, looking all cool and strong, ready to bear witness to his master's wishes. He tells Dobo and Mujin to both fight fairly in front of the watching crowd. Just then, Dobo makes a shocking revelation, telling Mujin that the martial outfit that he is currently wearing was sent personally by him as a commemoration of Mujin's return. Mujin smiles when he hears this, and he whips out his large sword, telling Dobo that he will have no choice but to return the remaining goods after the duel. The entire crowd is shocked to see this because they have never seen anyone engage in a duel with such a large sword. In addition to this, they all believed that the Flame Emperor is known for his bare-handed martial arts. Even Do is shocked, and he asks Sok if Mujin said anything unusual. Basically, the two initially suggested that Mujin run because they believe he has no way of defeating his opponent. However, Sok is starting to have some sort of belief in Mujin, saying he might have a chance, but Do's conviction is completely different. Once both sides are ready, the referee hits the bell to start the game. Enraged, Mujin goes after Dobo right off the bat. He swings his large sword at him, delivering a powerful and devastating attack. Dobo narrowly dodges the strike, but it destroys the ground that it hits. The spectators are blown away because they never expected Mujin to be that fast and exceptionally strong. What everyone believed was that Mujin had no martial arts capability, but he was moving in such a crazy manner. Even Dobo is utterly shocked since he was expecting a very easy duel. Mujin continues with his attack as he charges toward Dobo yet again. He continues swinging his sword at him, but Dobo manages to block his hit, and they stand toe-to-toe against each other. This leaves a clashing sound and a glorious sight for them to see. Choyeon is surprised that Mujin is actually staying in the fight more than she gave him credit for. However, she is convinced that no matter what training he has done, he is still nowhere near Dobo. Mujin continues swinging his big sword at Dobo, but he easily dodges it, thanks to his flexibility. As the fight progresses, Dobo manages to land a counterattack that sends Mujin backwards, and he swears he is going to leave Mujin in a worse position than before. He is confident that he has what it takes to break a man's will. Standing at the balcony, Do confesses that he is impressed by how Mujin is holding out in the fight. Sok then tells Do that with what he is looking at, Mujin has not even revealed his trump card yet. Do believes that Sok is saying trash, but Sok mentions that he secretly watched Mujin train on his own, and he assures Do that something more powerful is coming. As the fight progresses, Mujin figures out that his strength is currently on par with Dobo's, leaving him to question the training procedure. However, he is not worried because no matter how strong his opponent is, he will always win, and this time, he plans to kill Dobo. Meanwhile, Jo is transporting Mujin's siblings, and he has arrived at his destination with them sleeping. He remembers Do telling him that the reason he is not coming yet is because he would like to stay around and gather whatever remains of Mujin after Dobo kills him. Even though Jo doesn't know if what they are doing is right, at least they have started already. Back in the arena, the two are still going at each other. Mujin is not worried because he believes that Dobo is nothing but a rookie to him. The two continue to trade blows, and even though it appears that they are matched, some believe that Mujin actually has the upper hand. People have started talking trash about Mujin, saying he is not that impressive. Just then, Dobo launches a powerful attack that he aims straight at Mujin. Do and Sok almost faint as they watch the attack go straight for Mujin, and all they can do is pray that he actually dodges the attack. Realizing that Dobo is onto him, Mujin employs the Peerless Nine Swords first form, the preemptive step. Dobo lands his hit, but thanks to the technique that Mujin used, he is able to block it, leaving the crowd in shock. Even Dobo is shocked, and he is forced to move backwards. Realizing that Mujin is going crazy, Dobo gathers his inner energy in preparation for a final strike. However, Mujin makes fun of him, saying his inner energy gathering is too slow. Mujin then activates his technique's second form, and he dashes toward Dobo with so much malice. Dobo can feel this, and all he can do is block Mujin's attack in a struggle, leaving him totally confused as he cannot believe that he is losing to Mujin. Dobo puts all of his strength into blocking Mujin's attack, but before he knows it, his sword shatters right in front of him. Mujin's sword passes through, slashing Dobo really hard. Dobo is thrown to the ground while Choyeon screams in frustration, calling out Dobo's name. Dobo lies there in a pool of his own blood with his right arm missing, and Mujin automatically wins the duel. Mujin then walks over to Dobo's arm and says he will be taking it with him as payment for the 17 years of grudge. Choyeon is shocked to hear this, and Mujin says that the merchant group might actually find a way to reattach his arm. Han leaps off from where he is watching to check on Dobo. Choyeon also rushes at them, and Han mentions that Dobo's energy core has also been destroyed. Han stares at Mujin, asking him if he really had to go that far. Mujin acts confused, asking Han what he meant by what he said, and Han says there was a clear gap in their skills because the fight was already over a long time ago. Mujin then replies that since he has a big mouth, he also has a lot to say. Mujin then asks if it was really necessary to use the 7-wound fist strike on the head of a 5-year-old child with no martial arts skill. With pure rage in his eyes, Mujin tells Han that what he just did is merely a closure of a grudge that he has been holding for the past 17 years. Mujin also adds that they are about to start paying for everything they have done against the Hua clan. With clear malice, he urges Han and his subordinates to prepare themselves very well. Choyun crashes to her knees in pain, swearing that she will never forget what Mujin just did. As Mujin walks away from the stage, the spectators cheer for his victory because they are impressed by how he crushed Dobo. In addition to the beautiful things that they witnessed, they realized that they had never seen the sword he had used in the past. Basically, they are all hyped because a new martial arts master has been born. Du and Sok rush to meet Mujin, and he tells them that it is time they head back home. As he walks away, he suddenly turns back, asking Do if he has spent all the gold he entrusted to him. Du nervously replies that there is still a little of it left. Mujin then says he might have to stop by the Bangho sect because he would have to borrow money. Suddenly he tells Do that he doesn't care if he, Joe, and the other martial artists want to leave, but he lets him know that there will be great consequences if they try to take his siblings from him. He says this with so much killing intent that it almost cripples Do where he stands. Meanwhile, his siblings are already screaming at Joe for taking them away when they are supposed to be watching their brothers duel. Joe knows that they are done for when he reads the letter that the pigeon just delivered and realizes that Mujin unexpectedly won the fight. Du told him in the letter that they had been discovered, and he urged him to return to the house immediately. Without delay, Joe starts riding back home, but in fear, while the kids are celebrating that they want to go back and see their brother. Later on, Mujin tells Du that it is time for him to deal with the Bangho sect, and he tells Du not to worry himself about anything. Even though Mujin is now considered to be capable, Du urges him not to get himself entangled with the Sosol sect in whatever way. Realizing that the old man is just overthinking things, Mujin tells him that he won't. With this, Mujin heads out to meet the Bangho sect, but Sok is worried that things might turn out horribly. Mujin says he can't delay things any further, and he urges Sok to stay very close behind him. Momentarily, Mujin arrives at the Bangho sect, shocking Ma because he never thought he would see Mujin again. Mujin tells Ma that he is there to pay back his debts, while also making fun of Ma because their sect now looks deserted. Ma tries to cover up their loss by saying most of the gamblers in the region only left because they needed to watch his duel against Dobo. Since he claims that everyone went to watch him fight, Mujin asks him if he held betting pools on his match. Without a doubt, Mujin is pretty sure that they gave him the higher odds, and from this, they would have made a bulk load of money. Since they have made some money, Mujin automatically reveals his interest, and Ma obviously knows that he is about to milk them. To avoid getting into any trouble with him, Ma tells him that they are going to express their gratitude. Mujin is pleased to hear this, since everyone obviously likes money. Ma can sense the cold aura coming from Mujin's body, and it simply shows that he is filled with so much killing intent. Mujin then asks Ma about his boss, and this shocks Ma, asking him why he wants to know where their boss is. Mujin slams his hand on the table, telling Ma that he is pissed when he has to ask a question more than once. Mujin is about to run wild when the leader of the sect, Chai Wungyol, appears in the room. Mujin is surprised to see an ugly face who turns out to be the leader of the sect. Che confesses that his boys have already told him about Mujin, and Mujin asks him why it is so hard to see him. Mujin doesn't hold back from taunting him, telling him that he has an ugly face. Standing behind Che is an interesting fellow, and Mujin asks if the fellow is his servant. Flowing out of the dude is pure malice, and he turns out to be Death Black Crow from the Sosol sect. Black Crow scolds Mujin for eyeing his money, and even though he was told to avoid the Sosol sect, Mujin just found himself staring at one. Mujin simply tells the dude to keep his mouth shut if he doesn't want to die. Black Crow angrily dashes at Mujin, ready to tear him apart, and this scares Sok. Mujin doesn't feel any threat coming from Black Crow, as he is determined to take down anyone who gets in his way. Mujin throws a chopstick at Black Crow, and with so much power behind it, he punctures his hand. This is when it dawns on Black Crow that Mujin is not an ordinary dude, and he needs to take him seriously. Mujin then tells Black Crow that he wants no compliment from someone as trashy as him, but this gets Black Crow mad, and he angrily runs toward Mujin again. This time, Mujin decides to meet him halfway, and he runs toward him, but suddenly vanishes right in front of him. He appears behind him, shocking him. Black Crow frantically throws hands at Mujin, but he easily dodges while making it obvious that he is toying with him. Black Crow cannot believe that someone as young as Mujin is actually dodging his attacks. Mujin then decides to put one more hole in Black Crow. Mujin pushes the chopstick into his left eye, causing him so much pain that his scream scares those who are watching. Black Crow falls to his knees while calling Mujin the B word, telling him that the Sosol sect will come for him for attacking a member. Mujin is interested to see what the sect is capable of, and he kicks Black Crow in the head while telling him to urge the Sosol sect to come at him all they want. However, before the sect comes, Mujin lets Black Crow know that he is not leaving the room alive. Just then, Black Crow starts begging, telling Mujin that he is ready to give him anything he wants as long as he spares his life. Mujin is surprised that Black Crow desires to live, but since he offered him wealth, Mujin holds back from sending him to the afterlife. Black Crow says all his wealth is in Dechang, but he promises to bring them back. Mujin is ready to take the deal, but he assures him that he is a dead man if he doesn't return with the money. With fear creeping through his body, he rushes off, promising to be back as fast as he can. Once he is done dealing with the Black Crow, he turns to Che, who is already pissing his body, and he tells him that it is time they settle their debt. Che immediately falls to his knees, begging to be spared, while promising to give everything that he has. Mujin laughs at this, telling Che that he has nothing to offer him because his properties are already his. Che is confused when he hears this, and Mujin tells him to add the profits he has gotten out of commoners in addition to the lives he has ruined by manipulating martial clans to equal out his assets. With tears in his eyes, Che says he is willing to give Mujin everything, but this pisses Mujin off and he shatters Che's brain, reminding him that he can't offer him what he already has. Fear grips everyone watching this, and Mujin turns to them, asking them who is after him in the command line. Ma quickly steps up, saying he is the vice sect leader, and he falls to his knees, begging to be spared. He promises Mujin that he is going to live honestly if given another chance. Because he pleaded sincerely, Mujin decided to spare his life. Mujin then asks Ma how much Che was worth, and Ma starts with his house. He says everything is worth 4,000 gold, and Bangho's assets are about 10,000 gold. In addition, there is a 500 gold tribute from the Sozal sect. Basically, everything totals over 20,000 gold, and Mujin mentions that he wants everything to come to him. Ma then tells him that he is going to prepare everything and bring it to him. Mujin is pleased to hear this, since he wants everything handled without delay. Once Ma is gone, Mujin stares at the other sect officers with a very deadly expression, and he tells them to start negotiating their lives. This shocks them, and he reminds them that Ma is the only person he promised to spare. Fear grips them, and they start begging to be spared. Momentarily, Mujin returns home with several boxes filled with treasures and money, leaving Do shocked. He tells Do that each of the boxes has about 400 gold in it. Do tries to remind Mujin that the Bangho sect is backed by the Sozal sect. However, the main problem is not the Sozal sect, but who is allied with them, and this is a scary dude named Ju Sugang. Do adds that the sect also adds that the sect has the Black Crow and the Red Crow too. The moment he hears Black Crow, Mujin tells Do that he has already dealt with him. This shocks Do, and Mujin tells Do not to place him on the same level as him or Joe, because anyone who comes looking for the clan's trouble will end 6 feet under. After he is done saying this, he tells Do to get him some beef, and he also orders that his siblings are well fed when they return. As Mujin turns around to leave, Do cannot believe that Mujin has already put fear in Black Crow, who is considered a menace across the region. Do basically realizes that Mujin is totally different from the person he once knew. Meanwhile, Choyeon has hired assassins to take out everything dear to Mujin. But she orders them to bring back one of the kids alive. In the past, the Flame Hua clan was pretty successful, and the remarkable man known as the Flame Emperor drew admiration from countless martial artists who were always watching him. He even received praises from the prestigious Tang clan of Sichuan. In a single generation, the Flame Hua clan became a martial clan that no one could ignore. Those who are considered peak martial artists even think twice before messing with the Flame Hua clan. Because of this, there was a time when the people of Xichang would cheer passionately whenever the clan's members walked the streets. However, after the Flame Emperor died, the next patriarch showed how trash he is, and because of this, the Flame Hua clan gradually declined. Those who had been loyal to the family started walking away one after the other. With this, the image of the emperor who once ruled his world became split among those who remember him and those who don't. But the one thing that remains is that he is an extraordinary man. Because of the immense aura that Mujin has when walking, the elders start comparing him to the late emperor. Soon afterward, wounded warriors show up to tell Du that they have been ambushed by assassins, and Elder Joe and a bunch of warriors are the only ones fighting the assassins. The moment Du hears this, he realizes that the 2 young ones are in danger, and he tells the warriors to notify Mujin immediately while he goes ahead of him. In the forest, Joe finds himself standing up against the assassins, since the warriors with him have been taken down. Even in the face of immense danger, he stands strong with all readiness to protect the kids. Just as he is about to be overwhelmed, Du shows up just in time to lend him a helping hand. This pisses the assassins off because they had almost accomplished their mission before Du showed up. The assassin leader screams at his men, telling them to take down the 2, and another round of fierce battle ensues. Du manages to exchange a few blows with the assassins, but old age soon catches up to him and the assassins get the upper hand. Before he knows it, he gets cut on the shoulder, forcing him backwards. One of the assassins then makes Du his mission, and he tells his comrades to kill one of the kids. He pushes Du backward, forcing him to stay on the defense, but Du refuses to back down. Moments later, Do gets cut really badly, and he screams out in pain. Do crashes to the ground with no way to defend himself or the kids. Since Do is out of the equation, the assassins focus their attention on the kids, asking which of them they are going to kill or spare. Even though Dojin can't do anything to help, he still stands his ground to defend his sister, and the assassins decide that he will be the one to die. Just as they are about to cut Dojin down, Mujin's voice echoes through the forest, telling them to stop right where they are. He looks absolutely menacing as he dashes toward them at a great speed, but the assassins don't look scared since Mujin was previously known as trash. The assassin leader then tells his men to kill Mujin since he has decided to get in their way. One of the assassins dashes toward Mujin, but Mujin uses him as the first target for his rage. He shatters the dude's sword with little to no effort before launching a vertical strike that cuts the dude in half. Without wasting time, he moves past the dude and heads for the rest of the assassins. The moment they see how crazy he is, the leader of the assassins orders his men to come together and take Mujin down at once. The group quickly gangs up on him, but before they can reach him, Mujin activates the Peerless Nine Swords' fifth form, called the Army Slayer technique, and he slices through all of them like tissue. One of them tries to get the edge on Mujin, but he easily dodges before relieving the dude of his head. This is when it finally dawns on the surviving assassin that they are going up against a monster. Before he can even make another move, his right arm has left his body and he screams in pain. Mujin then tells him not to make another move if he still wants to remain among the living. Mujin turns around to see Jo helping Do up, and Dojin is covering his sister's eyes so she doesn't see the carnage going on in front of them. Dojin assures his sister that they have nothing to fear because Mujin has shown up and has beaten up all the bad guys. Mujin walks up to the two and he asks them if they are okay. Dojin assures him that they are good, and Mujin suggests that they must have been scared. But Dojin tells him that he is not, claiming that he is the son of a martial master. Mujin is relieved to hear this and he pats the boy on the head for his bravery. He then tells Elder Jo to take the wounded warriors and his siblings back to the estate. The moment the group leaves, Mujin turns his attention to the last assassin, telling him to keep his mouth shut about his chopped-off arm. Mujin then asks him if he was sent by the Chonghua merchant group. The dude hesitates before answering, and Mujin tells him that he might spare his life if he answers honestly. The assassin gets curious when he hears this, and he quickly reveals that Choyeon hired them through the Death Forest faction. After telling Mujin what he knows, he asks him if he is going to let him just like he said. Mujin then tells him to run back to Choyeon to tell her that he has wiped out the group she sent after his siblings, and to let her know that he is coming for her head next. Later on, everyone has their eyes on Mujin as he walks through the street with his body soaked in blood. Those who have been looking down on him in the past couldn't do that again, since they can't risk becoming one of his victims. The people are curious to know if the prodigy that they knew when he was a kid is finally back. After making sure he has farmed enough aura on the street, Mujin finally returns home and Masak comes running over to welcome him, but Mujin pushes his head aside. He asks Masak if the wounded warriors are all in the medicine hall, and he says yes. Masak reveals that Dojin and his sister are also resting in their chambers to regain their strength. Mujin is glad to hear this, and he tells Masak to prepare a bath for him. Moments later, Mujin soaks himself in the nice bath prepared for him by Mujin. While taking his bath, he thinks of his siblings and his desire to keep them away from seeing the bad in the world. Even though they are children from a martial clan, Mujin doesn't think it is right for them to be exposed to cruelty at a young age. However, at the same time, he is worried that he is projecting his past fear onto them. The next day at the medicine hall, Mujin walks up to Elder Jo to ask him about the Red Flame art manual. Jo is shocked when he hears this, and Mujin asks him why he is startled. Jo asks him why he is asking for the manual, and Mujin realizes that Jo is worried that he is going to relapse and tear things apart. Jo subtly replies that this is not his reason, and Mujin basically tells him that he is planning to train on his own, since Jo is currently out of commission. Mujin can also see that Jo is doubting his ability, but Jo denies this. Mujin then assures Jo that he has nothing to worry about because he is not going to throw a fit. Realizing that Mujin has no ill intentions, Jo finally provides the manual for him. After Mujin is gone, Jo expresses his worry to Do, asking him if he has not made the wrong decision by giving Mujin the manual. Do tells him not to worry because Mujin has been displaying some really excellent swordsmanship of late. Do says it was because of Mujin that they were able to survive the assassination attempt. Do also adds that Mujin appears to have been cured, and he believes that the Taoist's treatment is working. Jo agrees that the treatment is working, but at the same time he wonders if the treatment is also helping with his martial arts skills. Do also say Mujin's sudden improvement is something to note, and he believes that he had a fateful encounter because this is the only explanation for his sudden improvement. Jo is happy with the way things are going, and he believes that the clan's decline is finally coming to an end. At the training ground, Mujin calls his siblings together to train them. Mujin explains the concept of the whole training to them, telling them that they are expected to move very fluidly. He mentions that it is a fundamental movement technique that he created himself based on the countless real combat experiences. The two are impressed when they hear this, and Soyeon cuts in, expressing her shock, since Elder Joe claimed that Mujin has no real combat experience. Dojin cannot believe that his sister is basically saying things as they are. Mujin then suggests that they move past the boring talks, and he tells the two to come at him with the basic fist technique that they have learned. The two take their pose, and they come after Mujin at the same time, but their movements leave Mujin ultimately disappointed. The display from the two made Mujin wonder if the two were truly from a martial clan. He realizes that the two lack the basic movement to even be considered martial arts. Frustrated by the poor showing that they are displaying, he tells them to stop. He says they need to stop training for the day because his head hurts. The two are surprised that he is claiming he has a headache when they didn't even touch his head. Mujin then lies that the two are more skilled than he thought. He tells them that the only thing they need to do at the moment is to strengthen their bodies before learning any advanced techniques. After the two are gone, Mujin realizes that he has a big task on his hands and it won't be easy. He then realizes that his master must have had a hard time training him too. Nonetheless, Mujin is prepared to restore the clan to its greatness since he was the one to blame for what happened. In addition to this, Mujin aims to defeat the one person he failed to defeat in his previous life. Mujin then grabs his sword and he begins his solo training. And he can clearly see that the sword has gotten really light in his hand. He also figures out that his speed is increasing with every repetition of sword forms. Some days later, Do and Joe finally return to duty. Maesok tells him that they have done everything he asked, and he commends them for a job well done. But Maesok wanted more. Mujin angrily reminds him of what would have happened if he had arrived on the scene a bit later. Mujin then warns the elders, telling them that they are going to die if they ever pull such a stunt again. The two acknowledge this, and they bow to Mujin while apologizing for being foolish. Moments later, the said Taoist who treated Mujin Do Youngsu shows up. Mujin doesn't know who he is, and he has already insulted him before Maesok tells him that he is the Taoist who treated him. Maesok apologizes to the old man, saying Mujin has not fully recovered, which is why he is acting the way he is. But Mujin kicks him off for saying trash about him. Mujin then decides to play along, and he tells the old man that he is sorry for not recognizing him. Mujin urges the man to follow him, since he must be exhausted from his long journey. Some days earlier, Maesok had told Mujin about the Taoist priest, saying he inherited the Taoist lineage of the Wudang sect. Maesok claims that Mujin was healed thanks to the positive energy healing from the priest, and he reveals that the chief steward paid a huge sum to invite the Taoist. Now in the present day, Mujin is glad that he is finally meeting the man, which is why he is inviting him inside the compound. Mujin then asks him if it is true that he inherited the Wudang sect's Taoist lineage, and Youngsu confirms this, while acting all cool. He mentions that he is the only Taoist to inherit the essence of the Wudang sect's true lineage. The moment Mujin hears this, he stamps on his feet and asks him with all seriousness if he is truly the Wudang White Immortal, because he has never heard of any successor of Wudang's Taoist lineage still alive. Youngsu wants to act like a fool, but Mujin lets him know that he has a little time frame to come clean before he changes his mind. The Taoist maintains his innocence, asking Mujin if he is doubting the one person who healed him, but Mujin immediately whips out his large sword. He tells Youngsu that since he is claiming to be a Taoist, he says he should have no issue dodging his strike. Mujin swings his sword and barely misses cutting the old man in half, but the strike leaves a huge dent in the floor. Maesok and the elders panic when they see this because they believe he is going crazy. Mujin tells the trio to keep their mouths shut and get him water because he wants to show them something funny. The moment the water arrives, Mujin soaks Youngsu with it. Youngsu still tries to act like he knows nothing, as he asks Mujin if this is the way they repay kindness in the clan. Mujin ignores him and grabs his long beard, which immediately comes off, shocking the elders and Maesok. Even Youngsu realizes that he is screwed because they have found out that he is wearing a fake beard. Mujin makes fun of him, saying he even tried his best to glue the beard carefully. Youngsu soon finds himself answering to Mujin and his retainers, and Maesok asks Mujin what he plans to do to the dude. Mujin replies that he has no intentions of letting Youngsu go, and he says he might just cut off his limbs and turn him into an eunuch too. Youngsu freaks out when he hears this, and he starts begging Mujin to spare him. Mujin assures him that he has no intention of killing him because if he does, there is no way for him to get his money back. Mujin says he just wants to cut off his limbs, but Youngsu begs in fear, telling Mujin to leave his body parts intact. Youngsu promises to return all the money that he swindled. Mujin accepts the deal, but lets him know that he is also going to charge him for not cutting off his limbs in manhood. Scared for his limbs, Youngsu tells Mujin that he is ready to pay back any amount as long as Mujin leaves him whole. Mujin then asks Do how much the dude collected from him, and Do reveals that he paid him 50 gold Nayang. Mujin hears this and expresses his disappointment about how gullible Do is to have fallen for Youngsu's scam. In his defense, Do says he heard that Youngsu was a great healer. Mujin then turns to Youngsu, telling him that the first thing he's going to do is pay back the 50 gold. Youngsu reveals his intention to pay back the money, but claims that the money is back at his residence in Jinyang. Without hesitation, Mujin tells him to lead the way to Jinyang, which is 4 hours away. Do and Joe ask if they should come along, but Mujin tells them that there is no need for this since they are still recovering. He urges them to stay at home and make sure that there is no trouble. As he leaves with Youngsu, Do senses Joe's worry, and he urges him to trust the dude on the matter because he is no longer the man he used to be. Moments later, they get to where Youngsu's carriage is waiting, and Mujin is shocked to see the type of luxurious carriage that the dude is riding. This basically shows how well his scamming business is going. Mujin is even more blown away when he steps into the carriage and sees just how decorated it is. The inside is lined with cotton and finished with leather, and Youngsu says it is perfectly done because he travels a lot, so comfort is a necessity. Mujin smirks, saying Youngsu has a strong work ethic for someone who is a cook, and he asks him why he is not doing honest work, since he is a professional. Youngsu bows his head to Mujin, assuring him that he is going to embark on something legit from that moment forward. Mujin then lies down comfortably, telling the old dude that he needs to sleep. He suggests that he wake him when they have arrived at their destination. Youngsu acknowledges the order and assures Mujin that he will wake him the moment they arrive. Deep down, Youngsu holds ill intent toward Mujin, and he can't wait to show him what happens when someone wrongs him. The carriage soon departs, and after some hours of traveling, they arrive in a very silent and secluded area of the forest. Youngsu steps out of the carriage to meet an acquaintance, who appears to be a bandit. He tells the dude that Mujin is fast asleep inside the carriage. He tells the bandit to drag him out and make an example of him. The big guy is excited to do this because he doesn't know why someone would mess with the business of a Taoist. The big guy walks into the carriage and sends a punch in Mujin's way. Just as his punch is about to land, Mujin turns around to block the punch with his sword. Mujin smiles evilly while asking if they have arrived already. Mujin is disgusted with the guy standing above him, and he sends him flying out of the carriage, shocking Youngsu. The bandit feels the impact of Mujin's hit crawling through his body, and he decides to get serious since the claim about Mujin being impressive is not a false claim. Mujin slowly walks out of the carriage, asking Youngsu when their destination ended up being an isolated forest. Mujin finally realizes that he is a target for the Taoist too. He thought he was just a scammer, but then he figured out that he had other schemes too. Mujin doesn't take offense at this because he was looking for some action anyway. Mujin unleashes an overwhelming aura from his body while telling the big guy that he would like to see what he is made of. The big guy can sense the pressure coming from Mujin, and he calls on the rest of his gang to come out so that they can both take Mujin down together. 3 other big guys emerge from their hiding places, and it turns out that they are known as Zhongshan's 4 demons. The moment Mujin takes a good look at them, he can see that they are wielding demonic energy, but he doesn't say anything about this. Mujin makes reference to the variety in their weapons and tells them that he would like to see the depth of their skills. Without wasting any more time, Mujin dashes toward the leader of the team and pushes him away from his teammates. He puts him on the defensive as he continues launching a series of attacks on him. The rest of the team soon realizes that Mujin is after only the dude, and they mobilize to help him. Even the dude getting attacked is feeling the severe hit from Mujin's strikes. He compares his attacks to those of a heavy mace. He soon loses his balance, and Mujin kicks him in the face, crushing his mouth. Just then, the rest of the team catches up, and the closest tries to take Mujin's head off with his axe, but Mujin easily dodges and delivers a powerful elbow hit to his belly, causing the dude to scream in severe pain. The other 2 try to take Mujin down with a pincer attack, but he dodges, forcing the 2 to overextend their arms. This creates an opening for Mujin to easily punch one of them to the ground. Mujin then goes after the last dude, and the dude tries blocking Mujin's attack with his sword, but it shatters right in front of him. Mujin's sword almost cuts the dude in half, but Mujin holds back. The dude's life flashes before his eyes, and while he is still trembling from this, Mujin sends him flying with a powerful kick to the chest. With this, Mujin takes the 4 down, and he has them on their knees, struggling to breathe. During the fight, he has confirmed that they are using demonic arts, but this leaves him wondering how there are demonic arts in the Central Plains. Mujin considers them his juniors, and he doesn't want to kill his juniors. He is contemplating on what to do when the leader of the team screams out, telling Mujin that they are conceding defeat. He begs Mujin to spare them, and this is when Youngsu realizes that he is screwed because Mujin was able to easily defeat Zhongshan's 4 demons. The leader of the team admits that they already figured out that Mujin was way above them after the first few moves. Mujin then asks him why they kept messing around when they already knew this. Mujin assures the dudes that he will spare them, but he is going to destroy their energy cores and sever their meridians. The moment they hear this, the team leader goes on his knees and begs Mujin not to ruin their lives as martial artists because they only did what they were told. Mujin then tells the dude to stop whining because they are already old as it is. Mujin demands to know who they learned from, and the dude initially acts confused until Mujin tells him that he would like to know his master. Mujin mentions that he can clearly see that they are using demonic energy, even if it is pathetic. Mujin is curious to know who taught them demonic arts, and the team leader reveals that they don't know his name. Mujin is pissed when he hears this because he can't believe that they are a bunch of useless disciples who don't know their master's name. The team leader then confesses that their master never told them his name, and he also adds that they shouldn't look for his other disciples. Mujin replies that they should have just put their heads down and learned trash martial arts instead of engaging in banditry. The team leader quickly corrects Mujin's misconception, saying that they are not thieves. He mentions that they only helped with their brother's business on the side. Mujin is surprised when he hears this, and he scolds them for helping him even though they know what Youngsu's business is. This is when the team leader reveals that they believed he was in the business of saving lives. Mujin decides to let them go, and he tells them to stop being lackeys for Youngsu. He threatens to kill them if he ever sees them do bad things again. The team leader thanks Mujin for having mercy on them, and Mujin turns to Youngsu, telling him that the amount of the bill he is going to pay has just increased. In fact, he is going to pay for messing with his mental health, and this leaves Youngsu totally horrified. After the carriage leaves, the four brothers suddenly awaken to the fact that Mujin is someone worthy of being their master. The four then chase down the carriage and they get it to stop. Mujin is wondering why the carriage stopped until he steps out to find the four bowing to him and calling him boss. The four tell him that they are pledging their loyalty with the assurance that they are going to serve him until they die. They beg Mujin to take them in, but Mujin believes that the four are suffering from being beaten up by him. He tries to discard them, but the four roar even louder, demanding that he take care of them while revealing that they are still quite young. This comes as a surprise to Mujin, who thinks the four are old dudes since they all have ugly faces. Well guys, that's the end of the video. If you like this video, comment next part in the comment section. Also subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and like the video. Thank you for watching and see you next time again.